this state repression to ensure that there is no critical voice against this monopoly of the bigger fishes, not even the corporate, but even within the corporate sector, the big fish is eating the smaller ones. So you see this Vedanta, Adani, everywhere, they are capturing these resources, and rather than ensuring the defense of the people against their encroachment, the police machinery of the state is deployed to ensure that nobody can speak against this alienation, this dispossession, this displacement of people from their means of production. And we wanted to build a movement, such a movement in different states. So we also started focusing upon Odisha, and it was a very, very learning lesson. We are campaigning for education, but when people are denied to have the basic facilities, and when they are made to live in subhuman conditions of the kind that Madhusudan demonstrated through some of these video clippings, or hopefully he'll be circulating some of the material afterwards, it became apparent that the struggles for people's liberation, the struggles for the transformation of people's lives cannot be achieved through one front only. They have to have a synergy between all these requirements, because we saw uh, uh, these people going from villages to villages, sometimes on foot, sometimes carrying out bike rallies, and they were trying to open up the schools that were closed for quite long. Why? Because these were the areas where the dominant castes or people do not want the Dalits and the Adivasis to get educated. So I remember, our organizing secretary of the All India Forum for Right to Education also went, and, they campaigned, and some of these schools got opened up. What we also realized is that this is a form of, you can say, new imperialism. Colonialism tried to, and in fact, to a great extent, snatched the rights available to local communities on their, I would say, natural as well as social resources. Because education I treat as something which is linked to natural as well as social resources. So they try to snatch away the capacity of the local communities to manage those things. Now the Constitution of India try to restore these in various parts of it, and particularly in the directive principles of the state policy. Fine. But what is happening now is that these resources are to be captured centrally through an increasingly centralizing state, which is demolishing the federal structure of the Indian Constitution. So not only the rights of the state governments, but even the rights, therefore, of the local communities are being taken away. And that is why you have these amendments to the Forest Acts. So what is happening, therefore, is that today we have this specific focus on what is happening in Odisha. But as part of our campaign for right to education in different states, we have found that this repressive machinery has become more repressive over last few months, or let's say year. We recently passed a resolution or condemnation resolution on what has happened, for example, in Madhya Pradesh. Our friend, our presidium member, Madhuri Krishnaswamy, she has been disallowed to enter in a state in a district in Madhya Pradesh, where she was campaigning against this illegal illegal felling of the forests. And then subsequently, another young activist, Nitin Batis, was arrested, and now of course he's out on bail after a lot of struggle and effort. So they sent us a note, which shows how in different districts, in Gurbaspur, in Barwani, and so many other states, how this is happening. Similarly, we saw how in Haryana, for example, some of our young girls, who studying in educational institutions, particularly girls, and more so if they come from deprived social sections, how their voices are being silenced. Now you have also this example from Uttar Pradesh, where the student and youth associated um, with Chhatra, no, with the Bhagat Singh, no, they renamed Bhagat Singh. Not Morcha. The older Bhagat Singh Chhatra Morcha, now it's Bhagat Singh, some rename they've done. Then the Inqilabi Chhatra, Kendra, etc., how they have been booked, and suddenly house arrested under NIA. And same trend. I mean, the way the way they have now stopped the activities as a meeting place they have in Banaras. There was this place called Sarva Seva Sangh. So that building has been stopped. So what we are realizing, I mean, and in Delhi, you see the way they keep imposing 144. That has become almost a permanent imposition in the university campuses, right? So what we are witnessing today is a situation where, this state repression, to ensure that there is no critical voice against this monopoly of the bigger fishes, not even the corporate, but even within the corporate sector, the big fish is eating the smaller ones. So you see this Vedanta, Adani everywhere, they are capturing these resources, and rather than ensuring the defense of the people against their encroachment, the police machinery of the state is deployed to ensure that nobody can speak against this alienation, this dispossession, this displacement of people from their means of production, from the means of their survival, and including the means of education. And the last thing I want to say is that I think this is quite obvious, because a government which has realized, and it's not simply a government, I would say it's a regime which has realized or which has decided that they need only 20% people at best, maybe some kind of skilled labor force, so that 80% of the people they have to keep in check. They should not get education, they should not get proper drinking water because that is to be sold. They should be deprived of all the access to forest, all the access to minerals, etc., etc. I think this is really an alarming situation. And we, the people belonging to largely the middle classes, living in the urban areas, we think that if equal access to education is provided, is enough. I think until and unless it has been ensured that people do have access and they do utilize these resources as mandated by the Constitution of India in the directive principles of the state, and then education, because that's was something Ambedkar kept in the first, educate, agitate and organize. This has been done. I think the whole talk that India is going to become powerful after the G20 summit and everything else, I think this is all only an illusion which has been deliberately perpetuated around us so that we become blind to the people, the majority of this country, the people who actually constitute this nation. We become blind to the plight of those people. I think media has a great role to realize. Perhaps you don't sometimes because you think they are not going to read, so why do we care about them? But perhaps that was not the basic intent with which you came to this profession as well. So I close my observations with that, because there are people like Colin and others who will be able to reflect more on the legal side of it.
नेशनल दस्तक की आपसे गुजारिश है कि अगर इसको बचाना चाहते हैं तो नेशनल दस्तक को सब्सक्राइब करने के लिए रेड कलर के सब्सक्राइब बटन को दबाएं, फिर बेल आइकन की घंटी दबाएं। नेशनल दस्तक को बचाने के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है कि हर खबर को शेयर करें, लाइक करें, कमेंट जरूर करें।